Hi, this is Dr. Jared Garris. I'm the Glenn County Health Officer, and I'd like to do a weekly review for July 16th. So here's our graph for the cases of COVID-19 here in Glenn County, and you can see that we kind of started off slow and that we have increased significantly, and that it just keeps going up and up and up. Not that long ago, 30 days ago, we had about 24 people who had tested positive. The rate of testing was, a positive test was about 3.2% were positive. 40 days ago, we had 17 people who had tested positive and a positive test rate of about 3.1. And now we are at 200 and we are testing at about 11.8% of our tests are coming back positive. And so what that means to me is that it's not that we're just testing more. It really comes down to that we've got more within our community. Unfortunately. I will point out that we are having a little bit of some problems with getting our test results back in a timely manner. We had a number of tests that came back this last week, and from when they got tested to when we had received the results, it was 10 days or more. And that's a little bit frustrating because we typically isolate somebody for 10 days, a little bit depending upon what their symptoms are, but 10 days was usually what we isolate people for. And by the time we got the results back, you know, they were already out of isolation, and so it very well could mean that those people ended up spreading it more because they weren't sure, and so they went about their normal daily lives. A little bit frustrating. I want to speak a little bit about the ICU bed situation. So the governor today talked about Southern California and the Bay Area and about how the ICU beds were kind of getting a little bit full there. And actually specifically talked about Butte County. And so I went ahead and I called over and talked to some people at Enloe Hospital, because I think that's where majority of the residents of Glenn County go for their care. And we do have a decreased number of ICU beds right now. They are pretty full. About a third of them are related to COVID, and about 2/3 are not. But the concern is just that they don't have as many beds. They're pretty full right now. Now, obviously, Enloe has a surge capacity for opening up different wings and doing things like that. And so, you know, we're not running out of ICU beds right now. But I think it's important just to kind of keep an eye on that. And, you know, once again, we also have the ability to put up mobile hospitals and do things like that. I think the key is going to be having staffing to be able to pull that off. One of the things that I think has been on a lot of people's minds is schools opening with face-to-face instruction, and I think that everybody really would like to see that happen. There's kind of some things that kind of need to be thought about as well. You know, we continue to have that increased growth, more and more people getting sick, more and more people needing to go into the hospital. And so that's a little bit concerning. I do want to mention, though, that it is kind of nice. We have had a lower percentage of people needing to go into the hospital recently. And so I don't know for sure what the reason for that is, but I'm glad to see for the first time we've dropped below 10% of those who have tested positive requiring going into the hospital. So that's a good thing. But we do continue to have lots of more cases. And then there's the concern with the ICU beds that I mentioned. I think that that's just something that we need to keep an eye on. And the concern for time to get the test results back, when we got a student who gets sick and being able to test them and have a test result back quickly, especially with kids because they typically don't have as many symptoms, that can be really a good tool to have, and now we're with 10 days out, we're really kind of flying blind, so to speak. And then there's the concern for the winter. It seems like every year the ICU beds kind of get full, and when you throw in a bunch of COVID patients on top of that already, it just makes me just a little bit nervous as to what that's going to be looking like this winter. So these are just things for us to be thinking about. In all honesty, I'd be very surprised if the governor didn't come out with some very specific guidelines. probably related to the matrix that we're already, or the metrics that were already being measured that's put us on the watch list. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with the schools opening and how all that's going to work out. So if we are wanting schools to open, if we're wanting our businesses to open back up, we've got to do some things to be able to lower that spread that we're having so much of. And so what is it that we can do? Is we can try and keep our circles small, okay? And so when I say circle, I mean the people that you spend time with. So anybody that you spend less than 6 feet apart for more than 15 minutes, and really looking at who's in your circle. So if you've got a close friend or a family member who is here, there, and everywhere and just as a social butterfly, that might be somebody who you really want to think about whether or not you want them in your social circle, unfortunately. Just yesterday I was talking to one of the tracers, and she was telling a story about they had, I think it was like 15, 16, something like that, patients that all contracted COVID-19 from one person. And those people who are those social butterflies, they can really lead to a lot of spread. And so just really looking at who it is that you spend time with. Keep your distance. So if your normal distance from talking, if you'll just take one step back, that'll put you probably right around 4 feet away. And that's about 5 times less likely to contract COVID-19. Right? Just taking that one step back, it makes a difference. Now you take another one and it even becomes much less likely to develop COVID-19. So that distance really does make. And you throw on a mask, and that really helps protect. You know, if we can do these things, that's going to make a big difference. And then the last one is to stay home when you're sick. You know, I mentioned that woman who spread COVID-19 to 15, 16 people. And, you know, she was having symptoms. She was having diarrhea, but she kept going out and doing things. And when we're sick, if we stay home, it makes a difference. Once again, this isn't rocket science. If we can do these simple things, we can flatten that curve, and we can hopefully start to open up our businesses and be able to, and to make sure that our kids are able to go to school. Thank you very much.